Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to yet another edition of 10-1 Conversation, where we discuss issues relating to good governance, human rights protection, civilian protection, war, conflict resolution. In today's edition, we are looking at civilian protection in the course of the Amazonian War of Liberation. And of course, a lot has happened during the last week, and throughout the revolution, we have had cases of civilian mishaps where civilians are unfortunately killed by belligerent forces. Recently, we had a plane attack. We had critics coming out from both international and national societies. We have also had attacks on hospitals, attacks on schools, attack on the Sonara building, and of course, a humanitarian actor was killed and buried last week. In this edition of the program, we have brought in Barrister Tumasang, a regular face of the program, to share his insights with us. Welcome to the program, Barrister Tumasang.
Hi, good evening. Thanks.
And we have a new face on the program. We have Brother Valentine Binglo. He's been active on the Amazonian cause, and most of us have not seen him. We've not had him on this program. You're welcome to the program, Brother Valentine.
Thank you very much, my brother. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Brother Valentine. Some people call you Shufai Valentine Binglo. Some call you Brother Valentine Binglo. How do you want us to address you on the program?
I would prefer to be addressed as Brother Valentine Binglo.
Does Brother Valentine Binglo come with a religious or a traditional connotation?
It comes with a religious connotation.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, I came to the States as Shufai Binglo, as you are rightly referred to me, which is a title, of course, bestowed to me very generously by the traditional authorities. And in the course of my evolution and my stay out in the States, the Spirit of the Lord called me into ministry and called me into service. And as a devout Catholic and a charismatic Catholic, whom I've been for pretty much the most part of the last 4 or so years, it's really been an honor and a privilege to serve the Lord and to be one of those that the Lord has commissioned to go out there and evangelize and win souls for the kingdom. And so coming therefore in my capacity as Brother Valentine Binglo to address the humanitarian crisis that we face currently in our part of the world is something that is also akin to my religious faith and my beliefs. So I will not want to hold back from sharing that. And so for that reason, I would like therefore to indicate to the world that I do prefer to be referred to within the understanding of the title for which I now bear.
Do you mean you have washed yourself of your Shufaiship?
Using the language you used, I would rather say I have now taken over a higher calling and a higher role.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And let me come to Barrister. Let's talk about what happens in the course of the week. You know, a lot of things happen, but sometimes in the course of that week, one issue can prick our minds. This week, I don't think I read a piece from Barrister. Was that by design or was it by accident? I know you always send out these important pieces, educating our people on issues around this revolution. Was this week's omission, or was it something that happened?
Nothing planned. I was just a bit busy. I was a bit engaged in, I'm acting as mediator in a dispute. So it was a bit busy on us.
Oh, you're acting as a mediator in a dispute. That touches on something very fundamental in the Amazonian revolution. Was that connected to the Amazonian cause?
No. This is just to do with oil and gas. These are commercial parties, not countries. Although one of the parties is owned by a country. So it's nothing to do with sovereignty and all that. It's just strictly commercial business.
Another interesting point I'm getting to know more is oil and gas. This is what some people think La République is hanging on Amazonia for. does that mean we already have someone who can help us evaluate and put our values at market level if it comes to negotiating terms of separation between Ambazonia and La Republique?
Oh, that's a different set of skills, nothing to do with a mediator. A valuer is somebody else who can value things, but a mediator who knows the role of a mediator just happen to, by accident or design, happen to have both skills. It doesn't mean that a mediator must have those skills.
All right, thank you. So it boils down to the fact that we have experts at in Ambazonia who can do these things, for us and actually lead the cause for us. I hope those who can be making decisions in the near future are aware that Ambazonia has a huge potential of human resources, and they can actually play to the books for us. Okay, let's talk about the program of today. Welcome to the program for the first time, Brother Valentine Binglo. I once watched a video of you doing some presentation to some community in La Crosse, I think, if I'm not making a mistake, about this revolution. And
yes,
you focused more on the humanitarian aspects of it. What evaluation can you make about the current state of the humanitarian situation in the revolution?
at this time, what I would say is that the humanitarian situation is honestly deplorable. It is really sad. What you and I are witnessing in our part of the world today is an unfolding silent genocide for which I'm so honored and grateful that there are programs like yours that is trying to educate the population as well as the world at large of what is truly going on. What we have seen is a military might that has been exercised against an innocent and unsuspecting people that has heavily dealt with them in ways that you won't even believe. This is the union that we believe we had went into in 1961 with our eyes open. What we have seen in the course of time is that as the English-speaking Cameroonian had come to terms with the fact that he believes firmly in the restoration of his independence, he has been met with a high-handed, heavy-handedness from the Cameroon government that is not willing to budge, and by so doing has used its special paramilitary forces to descend in our part of the world, burn schools, rape people, destroy villages, destroy tradition, customs, and institutions that have been there for more than 900 years. And they have pillaged and ravaged them. And when we talk of an unfolding genocide going on in our part of the world, it is not hyperbole. This is reality. You don't have to have the Rwandan-style killing of almost 1 million people to say, you know what, we are facing the same situation. No. When you have villages today that have been completely depleted of people that used to live there, villages that have been rendered bush ghettos or pretty much been abandoned, and there's nothing to show that there was once life here except pretty much articles that have been thrown aside or homes that have just been decimated by the military might of the French Cameroon forces. One thing we know for fact is that today a lot of our people are refugees in Nigeria, and they are suffering and in dire need of attention. We have internally displaced people, a lot of them, almost in millions, that have now abandoned the homes of their fathers and their ancestors and moving in. Some, interestingly and paradoxically, have moved to French Cameroon. That is where they believe that they can even find some modicum of peace.
Good.
Then you
I'll come over to you, brother. Let me pick up with Barrister. Barrister, you've listened to the assessment that Brother Valentine has made. Do you share entirely in this point of view that for 61 years it has been bloodshed of an unsuspecting people?
No, for 61 years, I think we've been within a drama which is well calculated and was being implemented. Right from the beginning, these guys coveted our territory and they wanted it for themselves. They voted against our independence so that we should not be independent, we should be a territory which they can acquire. So it was a plan all along. They tried to francophonize us to make us now to get within their crude majority. So it's not a mistake. They made a plan, they implemented it. Unfortunately for them, we are resisting and resisting too hard. So their plans are collapsing in front of them. All these special state tools and whatever they are doing is a makeshift fallback position because the master plan has collapsed. So it's not a mistake. And the bad thing we have in this genocide, this type of genocide, is they don't kill 10,000 people in a day that the whole world is. They kill 10, 20, 30 a day.
But why would you think why would you think the world of today is not paying so much attention to this? We know, as you have said and as Brother Valentine has said, that this is a genocide. Why would the world not pay attention to this and call this thing a genocide? Ambazonians have been on social media, they have been on diplomatic offenses, they have been on international demonstrations, they have written articles, journals are all occupied by this story. Why is it that the world is not paying the attention they should pay on this? Is it because La République is having a huge lobby? Is it because La République has infested all the diplomatic houses and corridors? Why is the world not coming out on this and saying, La République, you are wrong?
There are so many factors which are in play. First of all, the people who were supposed to be key actors in this, Britain and France, both of them have interest. The Britain might have turned around and say, hey, we might have given you this territory, but you are killing these people, 10,000 of them, 15,000. They just gave Britain a gas concession of 2.5 billion. It cannot really talk. France's interest is there, it cannot talk. America is left there with some few countries. So it's a bit mute in the international scene. Secondly, in Africa, everybody is very careful and wary of coming and dividing Africa, which is already 50-something countries, and creating more countries. People are scared of creating a precedent. First of all, people don't even know how it would end. Would you end up creating another South Sudan or another Libya or whatever? It's a game which is, the international community doesn't know the end game. So everybody is very careful.
I'll follow up with you. Let me pick up with Brother Valentine. I know you have been enumerating the points that we should consider to know that this is a genocide. But let me pick up with you. Barrister has just said that the world is unsure of what is going to happen. And on the African continent, the politicians and the diplomats are avoiding a repeat of South Sudan. Is this a problem to you?
Brother, when you came across part of the question, because I think the sound went off, could you repeat the question again? All
right. Barrister has said the world is a little bit afraid of creating another South Sudan. And on the African continent, the diplomats and the politicians are a little bit unsure of creating another country, of creating another entity, because it could be a precedent to others. Is this what the world should worry about while we are being killed?
You see, brother, and I respect very much where Barrister is coming from, and I think he hit it right on the head, and he did not mince words about it. What I want us to take into consideration about it, as far as this goes, number one, a threat to peace and justice anywhere in the world is a threat to peace and justice everywhere. Those words are succinct and true and real amongst our people today. What we are facing has also been the handiwork of an excellent form of diplomatic redefinition of the crisis by La République de Cameroon. Remember, La République de Cameroon presents this issue to the world as an ethnic or minority disgruntlement, and no issue of two economies. Because if they allow you to realize that, wait, the Southern Cameroon is an independent nation that is clamoring for what they already acquired back in 1961 on 1st of October, and that they are now believing that the application of the resolutions of the United Nations, especially 1608, should be put into application today, they will realize that they will expose their hypocrisy. But by making it look as if it's a minority internal affairs, then the Republic can try to contain it and let the world feel like, you know what? This is no different from a Bassa conflict or an Awusa conflict or a Fulani. They want to reduce our struggle to that level. But the good thing is, we do have the world's media that we are clamoring upon to reveal this aspect of the plight of our people to the rest of the world and bring attention. Now, he also pointed something that I thought was key, the interest of the world powers in that part of the world too. The British have their oil gains. The French will already know where they stand in this issue. And the United States, credit to the United States, has actually been more vocal, especially from their embassies as well as their members of Congress. And my senator in Illinois, yes, Senator Dick Durbin, as well as my Congresswoman Jen Schakowsky and others, they have been very, very forceful and very verbal about the plight of our people. So yes, if the world doesn't want to see it, we will make the world see it. That's our role. We can't be quiet. Those of us in the world of Christianity, we do not just give up because you think there is so much evil you can do nothing. You still believe that you have to evangelize, you have to take the word of God to those that are still in darkness and to try to shepherd them along with you. So it is our responsibility today as children of Southern Cameroon and as men of God to bring the world's attention to this nightmare going on in that part of the world.
All right, thank you so much. Let us concentrate now on the civilians that have been caught in between the belligerent forces in this war. Last Sunday, there was an attempt on a Cameco airline. A lot of tongues have worked, a lot of people have spoken, a lot of people have said a lot of things about that particular action. First of all, it has been criticized as an attack against a civilian entity. But amongst the plethora of opinions that have been made, there is one that caught my attention by the learned Justice Aya Abine. He said, in as much as it's suspected to be, in as much as belligerent forces can suspect that a civilian entity is being used to attack or to launch an attack, it is a legitimate suspicion that could be brought down, assuming that this was done by Amazonian forces and that Ambazonians actually had enough evidence that this was a military plane. Do we say that that was not a civilian attack? Can we conveniently say, Barrister Tumasang, that that was not a civilian attack? Are there any elements to justify that the attack against the Cameco airplane could be a military attack?
Hello?
Yeah, Barrister Tumasang.
Sorry, is this my program? I'm hearing some noise in the background.
Please give me 1 second. Let me try to resolve the problem of the noise.
Huh?
1 moment. Let me try to resolve the problem of the noise. Okay, thank
Hello? I can hear you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are sorry about the noise, and we've tried to resolve it, and I hope it's been resolved for good for the rest of the program. So, Barrister, the question was: is there at the level in which we are now, can we actually say that the attack on Cameco was a legitimate attack?
First of all, I'll start by saying that, first of all, I'm not even sure it was done by the restoration forces, because Cameco is an airline that is virtually bankrupt. They are owing a lot. They are might be using an excuse of a staged attack to try to get out of trouble. Secondly, recently the UN started landing planes in Tico, in Bisongobang, and so many places directly without going through La Republique. La Republique is very worried for the UN to be dealing directly with us. So they were desperate to stop flights over our territory. They could have staged that thing so that they would declare a no-fly zone, and other UN planes can no more fly in the territory. They have to go to Yaoundé, Douala.
But Barrister, we immediately after the attack, Barrister, let me chime in. Immediately after the attack, we heard Dr. Ayaba Cho of the AGOVC say that if it is suspected that there is a military operation, they are going to bring the planes down. He did not come out clear to say that the area was responsible. But Chris Anu said the restoration forces are responsible for that attack. Do you doubt Chris Anu's declaration as not being founded on a reality? Barrister Tumasan. Hello, Barrister. Hello, brother. Brother, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right. Before we get Barrister back on the program, let me ask this. Let me put a question to you. Do you believe the attack was done by Ambazonian forces?
I do know that some Ambazonian elements of the Amber Boys have declared that they did, but I don't have any credible way of knowing that they absolutely did. But I think it's because I hold a contrary view to the idea as to should we start taking down civilian airliners. I don't think so. And to justify it by saying you suspect it might have been carrying military weapons is not enough. If you don't have proof, then you cannot err, especially when we're talking about a civilian airliner. One of the things we know about conflicts is that in conflicts, civilians tend to suffer a lot. It's been well documented. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Assistance has proven time and time again, civilians often get caught up, especially in warfare. But to engage, especially in this era, in shooting planes, especially civilian planes, it doesn't matter the guys under which you claim you had the right to shoot it, but the reason is simply this. When you do so, we have a world that will be quick to tack your war in light that will not be very helpful to all of us. The Palestinians can testify to that. So I don't know if it's really a wise move to come out and be bloviating about shooting at the civilian airliner. I don't know that. I don't align with that thought. I don't approve of it. The French Cameroon Army does have military helicopters that you have seen them flown around our territory before. So it wouldn't make any sense to me why that would be the case. But as I said, I don't know for sure that it was done by the Amber Boys, but I do know what has been claimed by some of them.
All right, thank you. Barrister, you're welcome back. I don't know what happened, but you're welcome back. Can you hear me, Barrister? Barrister Tumasan, can you hear me? Barrister is gone again. Shufa, Brother Mbinglo?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but now, if the airport in Bafut has been a military base, it is clear that it has been a military base, and La République has been attacking from there. Is that not reason sufficient enough for Ambazonian forces to want to bring down anything they suspect it is a military kind of plan or kind of attack?
I get the premise of the question, but the thing is this: one of the things about warfare is you don't defeat your enemy by becoming your enemy. La République has the tendency, as you've seen in past, to go into civilian neighborhoods and shoot machine guns. We saw that happen, and we saw them shoot indiscriminately. The thing is, when they were doing that shooting, it means that everybody was fair game. Now, the Ambazonian forces, when we see an airliner coming to Bafut, and we know it's a civilian airliner, I don't know if erring on the side of suspicion might, or a gut feeling, especially in war, we're talking life and death. What if, just what if, it really carried civilians? That too would be a black eye to us for the struggle. But if it carried military equipment, what has happened for the past 3 years is, to be very fair, the Amber Boys have put up a resistance, the kind of which the French Cameroon Army was not even ready for. They've been pretty much embarrassed by the magnitude and the determination of the Amber Boys. Even though they operate in splinter and in fractions and in county by county, as we all know, but they've been able to put up an effective resistance. But to go down that route will be counterproductive in a way, especially to the world. And when I saw that the AGC was willing to jump up and say, oh yeah, we did that, it kind of took me aback. Like, I didn't see your evidence that it was carrying military equipment. It didn't show anything to the world. You simply spoke on a hunt or a gut feeling, and I thought that wasn't too wise, but that was my take on it. And again, I still have that reluctance.
Thank you so much. I'm a Barrister. Can you hear me now? Barrister Tumasan, can you hear me? Hello, Barrister Tumasan?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can hardly see you. Anyway.
We can see you. His video is off again and he's mute. Okay, before Barrister comes back to the program, Brother Valentine.
Yes.
You know, it's common in this revolution that La République would do something and accuse the Ambazonians of doing it. I'll come back to you. Barrister, can you hear me? Barrister Tumasa, can you hear me? Barrister Tumasa?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You left off somewhere. Can you remember where you left off from?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't know why you can't hear me.
Okay, good. I can hear you now 5 on 5. So you were looking at the possibility that this attack could be a reaction to a military offensive. Do you still hold that point of view?
To be honest, I don't know what's happening. Maybe I do this with my phone.
I can hear you 5 on 5. Can you hear us? All right. While you sort out the issue, let me come back to Brother Valentine. Can you explain to us just briefly why Cameroon put the blame of the attack of Cameco on the Ambazonian forces? But
I think it's pretty easy. You attack them as terrorists and the world will reject them.
I'm trying to compare this one to Sonara, but Cameroon said Ambazonians did not attack Sonara. Why would Cameroon say Ambazonia has a military prowess to bring down an airplane, but doesn't have a military prowess to bring down Sonara?
Look at it this way. You follow the money. There is an insurance on Sonara that the Cameroon government can get away with. Also, it might allow them to walk up certain debts and obligations on Sonara if it just appeared as if the operations led to the fire that led to the destruction. But now, when you talk about an airplane being brought down, in what light does it paint the Ambazonians? In what light does it post the Amazonian forces? It's easy to attack them. It's easy to do what they have been doing already, classify them as terrorists, as enemies of the house, as people that are willing to destabilize a state, as people that are willing to undertake certain actions that will bring down even a civilian airliner. And you know what that means to us? It affects our credibility to the world. You can ask the Palestinians what it means. Yasser Arafat understands that language very well too. There is nothing more dangerous in the liberation movement than for the other side to attack you a terrorist and get away with it. The French Cameroon government has been very eloquent at doing exactly just that. But while we as Southern Cameroonians using the means of communication like yours should be able to counter back and to be able to push back and to be able to say, no, we are fighting for a just cause and the war was not, we did not bring the war to them, they brought it on us. So we're only reacting to what they started.
Are you in any way telling us that La République is responsible for the burning of the Kumba hospital, but then decided to put it out there as an Ambazonian action so the world can look at Ambazonians as terrorists?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only the burning of the Kumba hospital. Listen, it's been well documented, even in my part of the world, when you go to my county, to Bui County. One of the things the Catholic Church did, the Catholic Church was able to document certain atrocities carried out by the Cameroon government, a report of which was put out sometimes around April of this year. And you could have seen the deteriorating situation within the diocese, and they were able to tabulate and put together an effective result on the number of civilians killed, homes burned, schools destroyed, businesses that have been touched by the La République forces. These have been well documented. Hospitals and institutions being burned by them. Absolutely. That's why we talk of an ongoing silent genocide. This is what is happening to our people. And the simple truth is, it is up to you and I to let the world know, to bring the world into our plight and to awaken the world's consciousness as to the fact that they cannot remain quiet. Because when it started in Rwanda, it started small. But before the world's attention was brought into it, we were talking about 1 million people dead already. We don't want to get there. Our cause is legitimate. Our struggle is decent. The reason for why we fight is because the United Nations erred in its own deliberations and decision-making processes and should correct that today, instead of pretending it never happened. We as a people are entitled to those inalienable rights given to us and endowed to us by our Creator, our Lord in heaven. Therefore, we cannot give up on it. We will not back down on it. And we are appealing to the worldwide community to see the plight of the Ambazonians and to pay attention to it.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping that Barrister is with us now. Barrister Tubasang, are you with us? It's getting really messy with Barrister's connection. Okay, so let me hook up with you again. I know you made this presentation at in La Crosse, if I'm not making a mistake.
In La Crosse, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, it was more about the humanitarian situation. But last week, we saw a humanitarian worker killed by one of the belligerent forces. At this point, I do not know who killed him because I was reading the sermon read out by Father Andrunga, who is on the spot, and he could not determine who killed him. I know some people have said Ambazonians killed him. He was taken into custody, in Ambazonian custody, and killed. When you look at what is happening on the ground and the statement you made at La Crosse, do you think Ambazonians are kind of going out of the margin in such a way that you can no longer defend what they are doing on the ground?
Let me be very honest about this. There have been actions carried out by Amba boys that have been counterproductive to this struggle. A lot of the kidnappings that have happened in my village, and as I said, there's one thing, as a man of God, I have to be candid and honest about it, have been carried out by Amba boys. Now, some people talk of Atanganji boys, but one thing is for certain, it's done by boys of our part of the world. And these things give a black eye to the struggle. And one thing also we have to look on and take cognizance of the fact of, I know that even the traditional institutions and so were not brought down by the Cameroon army, no. When I saw the chief on so kidnapped back and back, it wasn't kidnapped by the Cameroon police, no, or the Cameroon army, no. It was done by Amba boys. So it would behoove me, therefore, for us to simply say we have been running a bunch of angels. No, we haven't. It's war, and there are consequences of war, and I understand that. But also there are rules of engagement. And when you go against the rule of engagement, then of course it defeats your purpose. It gives you a black eye, and it takes away the credibility of your fight. And this is one fight in which we have genuine credibility, and we should, as a people, be able to carry that fight within the norms of warfare. We can't become La Republique to win La Republique. Just like some of us have prayed that we don't allow Odeshi power to rule our lifestyle, but rather let's turn to Christ and depend on the saving graces of God to win this fight. We can do it.
When you go out on your diplomatic offensive, and this question is put to you, how do you handle that? How do you tell your senator and your congressman that Ambazonians are responsible for crimes against humanity? Don't these kind of actions put Ambazonians or put the international community at a defensive position, thinking they are breeding another South Sudan?
I get where you're coming from, but you have to understand something. The Cameroon government has also created a faction within the Ambazonian forces to give us a black eye. That's why I talked about the Atanganji boys. And you have to understand they are up to every form of crookery and trickery to able to black eye us and to make our struggle lose the credibility we already deserve. Now, this is war. In times of war, yes, there are atrocities and things that can be done that are truly unfortunate. I mean, recently we just had the case of a U.S. citizen who is in the army that was also arrested for what? For taking pictures with dead bodies of Afghan civilians. But what we are saying right here is that the Cameroon government has the upper hand. It has a more superior military force. And for anyone to turn around and say, hey, look at, Amba boys are doing the same thing the Cameroon government is doing. Wait, first of all, you have a splinter group of southern Cameroonians that are trying to defend themselves from the high-handedness of the Cameroon army. The Amba boys in Bui, I don't think are run by the same military, under the same command as those in Paco, for example, because of the county-by-county concept. Therefore, it will defy logic and common sense to say that, guess what? The little man was able to resist the big man by countering. The story of David and Goliath makes a lot of sense to a lot of us because why? We see David as that little innocent boy that was able to stand against that giant. Now, but David used a deadly sling to shoot Goliath down too. But we don't see it that way. But because you know what? We too at this time are at a disadvantage. We don't have also the organized military that La Republique has to fight them. And so if our people resist in ways that are unbecoming, it's because La Republique has also infiltrated the Amba boys and are using certain elements, the Amba boys, to give it a black eye. That's what they've done. Look at the recent meeting that was held in Yaoundé under the rules of having a peace,
before we come to the meeting, let me take
before
we come to the meeting, let me take Barrister. I think Barrister is on now. Barrister, are you on with us? Barrister Tumasan. Hi, Barrister. Okay, Barrister's line.
Yeah, but there's a lot of echo. I can hear you only in bits and pieces. I don't know that. The network is very bad.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Did you hear me plainly?
Yeah, the line is very bad.
Okay, I hear you very well. Let's try if you can hear me. If you can hear me, we get your answers very well. Okay, so you were making a
I
case
can hear
about.
you.
Can you hear me now? Hi, Barrister. Hello, Barrister. Maybe you need to restart your system. Do you want to restart your system? Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry about that.
I didn't get the last thing you said.
Okay. You were making a case about.
No,
you were making a case about the attack on the airline. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I was making a point that I don't think that we shot the plane. Yeah, I was making the point that I did not think we shot the plane down, that it was done by Amber Boys. That aside, if you shoot a plane which is supposed to be civilian, the first reaction is that many people will be very apprehensive and can tag you various names. But if you go to the details of it, first of all, it was a civilian, the plane is in a civilian airport that has been converted into a military base. You have thousands of military people who are there. There is a control and command center which is there. So if you go to the reality, forget about the paperwork that is civilian. There is nothing civilian about Bafut Airport. It is being used as a military base. There is one airline that comes there, and that airline is a bankrupt airline that is mainly being used for military purposes to transport their own military things. But all this explanation will be coming after the international community would have already started looking at scams at you. That's the problem. No, whether you are right or not, it is bad PR. That's all. But to say that in a military airport like the Bafut Airport, if you attack a plane and you think that plane is civilian, I don't think so. But it will still give you a very bad PR.
All right, thank you for that. But let us look at the actions that La République has been taking from Bafut. We know one of the most ferocious Amazonian forces are located in Bafut. But now you're saying that the airport has been militarized and is being used to fight this war.
Yeah, there are many forces in Bafut, but there are many military also in Bafut. Military, there's a military camp there. The airport is like an Air Force base. It is there. There was one point in time you could not rent a house in Bafut because the military had rented everywhere. Before afterwards, now they started taking them into the camps and some of them started staying in town. So it is a command and control center. If you an attack within the confines of that airport, I don't see how civilian it is, to be honest.
So you are eliminating the idea that this was a civilian attack. You're saying it was a military to military attack. Is that what you're saying?
No, we cannot eliminate anything. We are just looking at the possibilities. Nobody is eliminating anything. Nobody. To be honest, if you see Mr. Bernard, how you shoot a plane, you cannot even pierce aluminium. A plane is made of aluminium. The bullets were not even piercing the aluminium, showing that that thing is done with a den gun. You think the guys in Bafut at this stage, if they want an aeroplane, they'll go with the den gun? It is looking as if it's a military stage thing. We're using a den gun intentionally. A plane is not made of iron, it's made of aluminium for lightweight. How come so many bullets did not penetrate? Maybe one penetrated or so, but no. Therefore, they definitely used the den gun to shoot the plane. Who in Bafut will use a den gun to attack the airport? It is a stage thing. Not that I'm eliminating the possibility.
Barrister,
but if you go by the evidence, it's staged.
Brother, would you equally say it's a staged thing because the whole airport is well guarded and militarized, and to use a den gun to have an impact on that plane, as minimal as the impact was, do you think the range, the shooting range needed to have been shorter? And within that shorter range or that shorter diameter, Amber Boys could not actually get into that diameter because of the military surrounding that military base at the airport, Brother Valentine?
The barrister has nailed it on the head. That's exactly how it should be seen within those parameters. There is a range at which a bullet, we know for fact, could not have done that much damage. That was done at such close range for us to be deluding ourselves into believing that it was done by Amber Boys. And we live in a social media era where fellows who want to take credit for things they don't even know about, or sometimes push back at things that don't involve them. The one thing we do know for fact is that to pretend or to claim that, you know what, this was done at that close range by an Amber Boy military at where it is so heavily guarded, you will have to suspend logic and common sense to believe that. And I wouldn't do that. So I agree with the barrister on that.
All right. Both of you saying that Chris Anu, who came out plain on media and said the Restoration Forces did it, did not actually communicate with Restoration Forces on the ground to ascertain that?
I can't speak for Chris Anu. I don't know where he got his facts from. He didn't show me any proof to also indicate that this was a military airliner or a civilian airliner converted to a military airline. He shows no proof either. What I do know is that part of the social media era is that we do have a lot of blustering, a lot of grandstanding, a lot of pontificating, and sometimes people want to come across as their side doing such a big thing. Listen, this is war, and I get it, propaganda is part of it too. But to claim that that was shot at such close range in that heavily guarded airport, I would need to suspend reason, and I can't do that. That's impossible. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Is it possible? Sure. Let me correct myself. Can it be possible? Sure. But if it is possible, I will only think it was probably staged by La Republique. But you want me to believe that no, the Amber Boys pulled that off? I don't see how. Unless probably we now have some recent ammunition that can burst through things from a longer range, then that would be great. But it just doesn't add up. And I don't want to be part of the associated with a war where we now start believing that we can shoot civilian airliners. That's not the war we are fighting. Our war for restoration is not against civilians. It's not even against French Cameroonian civilians. No. Our war for restoration is a genuine pay for our rights.
Barrister Martin, why would Ambazonians, following your analysis, you do not see that Ambazonians could actually do this, but why would Ambazonian movements claim such an action?
To be honest, at the end, they say war is propaganda. Somebody might have done a wrong assessment to say whether we did it or not. Let's use it as propaganda. That's all. Maybe we did it, maybe we did not. The person who's saying that cannot be 100% sure. They can even bring some people to claim responsibility. People have claimed responsibility for things that they didn't do. They are hoping another group within our general environment did it. But it is good propaganda at times, only that it is backfiring. To tell the world that we have the capability now to fight La Republique, to claim our territory we are governing, nobody should come to our territory. It is very important. Now the UN food program, before they go to Ndu, they contact the ATF and the rest to organize safe passage. So they are trying to say, okay, we should place now before you pass through our territory, you have to come for us and organize safe passage. So it will be seen as activities, sovereign activities. So to show that we are in control of our territory, maybe for the propaganda, maybe we did shoot it. I don't want to rule anything out 100%. But based on my own assessment of the facts as they are, I'm more inclined. The evidence is preponderating on the side that La Republique must have staged that attack.
All right. When I went through social media last week, right, I saw people, the elite, kind of criticizing Ambazonians for doing this. But when we see hospitals that are burnt, we see villages that are burnt, we see schools that are attacked, and the evidence is mounting that this is done by La Republique, we don't hear this elite come out and criticize La Republique vehemently. Is it because the elite is thinking that Ambazonians should conduct themselves in a way that would not expose them to criticism, or is it because the elite are bent on criticizing Ambazonia out of existence? Barrister, can you give us an assessment of such a comportment from the elite?
To be honest, if you are talking about Akeremuna, Akeremuna is a guy that comes from a family with a history of cashing in on situations. From their father right down to them, it runs in their blood. This is a very partisan guy. This is a guy that will twist the story to favor where his interest is. This is a guy who's even managing family property. The sister takes him to court. This is a guy who had to resign from Amnesty International because of integrity issues when they went to court. So he's picking one side and talking. We're not talking about a man with high integrity here. We're talking a man who even, I don't know whether they gave him suspended sentence. Such a guy will go where his interest is. Such a guy, his integrity is bought by his interest. So let him criticize what he's criticizing. They've killed almost 10,000 people as he criticized. They've burned 400 villages as he criticized. His people are dying on a daily basis. Where has he been? I don't have time in this type of interview to waste my time with such guys. Those guys are there for the interest. They've invested, their family has big investments over there from their father. They've gained from the system. All of them have gone to the best schools, went to everywhere in the world based on the system. So they have been set fat by the system. What do you expect? They want it to perpetuate a bad system, a corrupt system. Those who are profiting from it never see the evils of the system. It's those who are suffering under the system. So if Akeremuna should criticize the government, I won't be surprised. He wants to tap in with Kamto, let them continue creaming the system for the next generation. His father creamed it. He's creamed it. He wants the children to cream the system also.
But Barrister, you are giving us an impression.
Akeremuna, I don't have time to be talking about him.
But Barrister, you are giving us an impression that this is about Akeremuna. This is not about Akeremuna. This is about a situation of top class elite. He is not alone. We've heard people like Joshua Osei. We've heard people like
why are you talking about Joshua Osei? I'm using Akeremuna because he tweeted about the thing and said all the sympathy would evaporate. All the sympathy they have for us. Has he ever shown any sympathy to us? Forget about like Joshua. Joshua is there. How many votes did Joshua get in the election? Who is Joshua representing there? They are all representing their pockets. This elite.
All right, Barrister,
is he representing anybody?
Barrister, let me take up with Brother Valentine. Let me take up with Brother Valentine.
Let those people be. Let me tell you, in any system, there's nothing unique about them. In any system, those who have succeeded in that system, where they gain the benefits, they want the status quo to be maintained. They will criticize anybody who's trying to make a dynamic shift. When there is a paradigm shift, they are worried. The new system, they will not have those privileged positions. They will not have the privileges they are enjoying. We are actually fighting against them. That's the way they see it. So they will go out of their way to maintain the system. They can come kneel and beg. They can criticize you, do everything. You think they are begging because they love you? Tabetando can cry, Ndumu can cry from morning till night. It is for their own interest they are crying. You think they are crying because they love you? You think they are crying because 10,000 are killed? Has Dumu ever condemned the 10,000? Why is he coming to beg? Has he ever gone to beg Biya to stop killing the people? Has Tabetando ever cried in Yaoundé that you've killed too much of our people? Can you even stop and talk to them? So to mention those people is a waste of time. Let's talk serious.
All right,
things, man.
let me pick up with Brother Valentine. I know I have put this question to you in another way from your practical experience, but now the question I want to put to you is this: these people claim that the sympathy is going to evaporate, but then you have been on the front. You have spoken to people from whom the sympathy might evaporate. But do you actually have a feel that Ambazonian, that those who are sympathizing with Ambazonia out there are actually losing the interest in Ambazonia because of crimes committed by Ambazonian forces?
Absolutely not. On the contrary, They are more sympathetic. They can see the atrocities that are being done on a daily basis. They can see what the regime is doing against and unsuspecting people. They can see that the people that are already out there as refugees and IDPs, how they are suffering. They can see that our institutions have already collapsed. They can see that there have been no schools now getting now to the 4th year. And they can also see that our hospitals, as well as even some of our church and religious structures, have been burned. They can see that. They can see that people are losing their homes daily. And you know what? A claim by somebody on a Facebook saying, oh yes, Amber Boys shot a plane is not going to change anything. The people are seeing the reality. A bullet to one plane is not going to cancel out almost 40, 50,000 plus refugees that are in Nigeria, some of which are living in deplorable conditions, some of whom, and a lot of these people truly need the attention of the diaspora. One of the reasons I wanted to be on this program today was to make a very personal appeal to the diaspora. The diaspora has a responsibility to care for the victims of what has been going on too. And I'm really pleading through this program that those that have been engaged in humanitarian efforts should be able to please look at the plight of our people. You cannot look up to La République anymore. No, La République also is now engaged in photo ops. I saw the BIR military people distributing school books somewhere in Cambe and putting it on Facebook. And I thought this is just interesting because they too are also fighting a what do you call a propaganda campaign. But to us, it is real. To us, we are losing lives. To us, people are dying. To us, children have lost the right to education, a basic humanitarian right. And these are the rights that we have been losing. My brother, when 4 years goes by with no school, you have created almost a generation of people that will struggle later on, and it will come to bite us. Therefore, it is in our very incumbent interest, therefore, to try to get this thing resolved peacefully and fast, and also to get the diaspora invested in trying to assist the people that are in need.
Thank you, brother. I'll pick up with you about the schooling issue because school is very important for generations. But let me talk with Barrister. Barrister, from your observation, do you think the victims of this war, be they Ambazonians, be they citizens of La République who are based on the territory of Ambazonia, are the citizens, are the civilians who are not in this war, who are not belligerent? Some of them don't even know why the war is fighting or is raging. What advice can you give to the Ambazonian liberation movements who are fighting to liberate the people of Ambazonia? That is their claim. So what can they do to liberate or to free these people who find themselves in difficult situations at the time of war?
Intensify the war. Buy more guns, buy more grenades, and fight. Fight until you liberate yourself. You don't go into the middle of the water, you start asking about if there's no canoe, the canoe is slow, what do I do? You want to swim across? What do you do? Just intensify. This thing, you have to fight it till the end. We are in the middle of the war 4 years after. You cannot say anything, whether school or no school. Those who can go to communist schools, let them go. Those who can simply go to school, fair enough. But the liberation movement just have to intensify. People have to fund this thing. This thing has to be funded till the end. We are not looking for peace. Who's looking for peace? If we are looking for peace, we drop the weapons today and there will be peace. La République just wants to subdue us. We are there like their wives. They are suppressing us. We are their children or their wives. There will be peace. We are not looking for peace. Peace is the easiest thing to get.
What are we looking for?
Liberation. We are looking for freedom. We are looking for our manumission. That's what we are looking for. We're not looking for peace. We're not even looking for education.
What is this freedom, Barrister? What is this freedom?
We are in a war. We fight to the end. Sorry?
What is this freedom you're talking about? You say we are looking for freedom. What is this freedom?
What do you mean by what is this freedom? The freedom I'm talking about is a freedom to exercise my inalienable right to determine my own political status, not a situation where somebody else is coming to give me a status, whether special status or not. It's a freedom for me to choose my own path, developmental path. It's a freedom for me to exercise the independence I want in the United Nations in the vote on 21st April 1961. That is freedom. The freedom is against annexation, freedom against assimilation, freedom against colonization, freedom against being dominated by a neighbor, being ruled by alien forces.
Thank you. I think
we're talking about.
I think myself and the viewers have understood what you mean by freedom. Brother Valentine, you made a call about schools. Would you want children to go to school whereas bullets are flying over the territory?
No, that would be inconceivable. Nobody will want to put children at such a predicament. The simple truth is the Southern Cameroon situation has escalated mostly for three reasons. Number one, the various parties have just become so extreme in their views and have also been doing everything to hold firm to their positions. We now have guns flying between both sides, the bullets going between both ways, so that creates a conundrum for which it is difficult to negotiate. The other thing is that the Republic is also not willing to sit down and talk and to resolve this. Every war ends on a negotiating table. When it doesn't, people just keep dying. And my hope and my plea is that the United Nations, as the mediating party, which it should, as well as other interested parties, starting with the Security Council, should really take a look at this, bring the various parties together and try to resolve what has been a nightmare for a people. And the simple resolution is this: the Southern Cameroons are entitled to their restoration to what was already their right back in 1961. We are not arguing, we're not saying that we want a special status or a federation. It's not going to work. Where we stand today, the only outcome is for us to go our separate ways. And I think what Mr. Paul Biya is doing at this time, fighting against the wishes and aspirations of the Southern Cameroonian people, is going to heal him also big time too. But I think as any decent civilized society, the world community should bring the various parties together and try to resolve this, so that then, yes, we can go back to a regular, decent country, and then schools will resume. But I can't advocate that students go back to school at this time. It's impossible. It is hard. There's war.
So if you want this thing to end, if you want this thing to end as soon as possible, so that children will go back to school, and the 4 years you mentioned are not going to multiply, what do you propose should be done to ensure that this war ends? Practical solutions, one or two. Can you help me with two practical solutions?
Number one, it is my plea that the world community, starting with these United States, bring La Republique to a negotiating table, something for which La Republique has not heard yet, being told to them that you must negotiate with them conclusively. And number two, it will be the world community sanctioning La Republique enough to put them on that table, because they have not felt the impact of the world sanction on them. Iran tested it and ran to a negotiating table. Those that have tested it understand means shows its resolve. And therefore, it is my plea to the world this day that the United Nations was established within the mindset to ensure that the atrocities of World War I and World War II should never happen again. It is now happening. Let them use the power of the purse to bring Paul Biya to his knees and force him to sit and negotiate with the people a reasonable outcome that will allow the people of the Southern Cameroons go their separate way. And we can then live as neighbors. Don't forget, we still have to live as neighbors. Just like we live with Nigeria as neighbors, we still need to live with La Republique as neighbors too in the future. So we can do that peacefully, amicably, and move on from now. No, La Republique did not shoot a gun to become independent. We didn't shoot one either. We just voted. But then we became assimilated by them. So we just want to break out of it. And I respect where the barrister is coming from with his inalienable rights, which he's entitled to, as well as every Southern Cameroonian citizen. We are all entitled to those rights. But we need now to go our separate ways. And what I just suggest should be the way forward.
All right, thank you. Barrister, the brother just made a very important point about bringing the world community taking their responsibility to resolve this issue. From your honest point of view, why is the world community not doing this thing? When you look at it, when you look at the history, look at all the documents available at the United Nations, it's very easy for the United Nations to lay this thing to rest without any problem. Why is the United Nations taking all its time and acting ostrich while people are dying?
You are claiming that the international community is slow compared to what the other dispute they acted faster.
We are not comparing with
this
other disputes. We are comparing it with only this dispute. Only this dispute. Ambazonia's right to self-determination is established under international law. Why should the system be so slow in putting it into effect?
Yeah, the wheels of international justice have never been fast. They've always, the wheels of diplomacy have always been like this, slow and the rest. We keep pushing that they should come and force La Republique to go to negotiation and the rest. Negotiation to me is a fallback position. It's not even my first position. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, did they tell them to go to negotiation? They told them to leave the territory. That's it. So your first option is to say, hey, this is my territory. This guy should go back to his borders. Then that is where you are putting your effort to remove him to go back to his borders. Then if there is so much casualty, then the world comes and calls you for negotiation. Your first point of call cannot be negotiation. Why are you calling this guy for negotiation? What is La Republique coming to gain from this negotiation? To end the war and you go with me? Is that their profit? They could do that without even negotiation. Why would La Republique, if you were La Republique, you can go, why would you go to negotiate in Switzerland? Tell me, to go and do what? To go and convince the guy, give them special status of federation to stay with you. You're already offering that to them. What do you need negotiations for? The only end point to negotiation is they will go and either these guys are going now, or they give 5 years, 10 years, people stay together after a referendum, which they know the result, the guys will only go. So La Republique has no incentive whatsoever to go to this any negotiation with anybody. It's a waste of their time. It's a disaster to them. They cannot look. If you do what we call scenario planning, there is no scenario in a mediation where La Republique comes out on top. No, I've not seen anyone. I've plotted all the parameters. What is the result of a mediation that La Republique can win and come?
Barrister, you've mentioned something very important. Is it possible for you to just mention a few of these scenarios that you've plotted and seen that La Republique cannot emerge a winner in any negotiation?
There's one scenario. They can go in a mediation, it ends up that, hey, this is not your territory, go back to your territory. They can say the two parties, fair enough. You guys stayed for 10 years. After that, if you cannot get peace and learn to live together, then Southern Cameroon will have a referendum and go its way, the way they did in South Sudan. So there can be, what is the possibility to go to this thing and take the scenario of going and taking this special status, clean it up, give some more rights, and we take and stay quiet with them. It cannot work. Even if it were to work, we don't have an appointed time for us to prepare ourselves and still go. Either way, even if they were to give us federation in this mediation, it will be a temporary thing, no matter how you work it out. If you do scenario planning, always ends up with us having to leave. There is nothing they can give us to satisfy us. So going to mediation is a waste of La Republique's time. If La Republique is going there, it's because he's forced or their debt on the field are too much. So La Republique is not interested in all those mediation in Switzerland or wherever. We should not be pushing for mediation. We push for them to leave our territory. Then they will come and force mediation down our throat. We are the ones from the beginning begging for this mediation and just confusing things. Somebody has come to your house, you try to send him out. The world might come and say, instead of the two of you fighting in front of your children or on your property, come, let's talk. They'll call you to the headquarters to go and talk there with the quarterhead or with the chief. That's how it is done. We should be focusing on La Republique leaving our territory. We have independence for Christ's sake. Which country will you go and occupy and they call you to come and mediate when you occupy the whole country? I've just asked, did they tell Iraq to go to mediation or go to negotiation in Kuwait? They pushed them out. So we'll come to talk about that. Let us have a transition now, and when we come back, we'll continue talking about the way forward. Pen, can you give us that transition, please? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. We are welcome back to the program. And on set today, we have Ngalin Bernard as the host, and we have Barrister Tumasang Martin and my brother Valentine Binglo as guests on the program. And we are looking at the civilian situation in the Ambazonian War of Liberation. So, Barrister, let me pick up with you from not from where we ended.
So we are in a situation where Ambazonians say this is they are exercising their right to self-defense. Can you please contextualize this right to self-defense for us? What it is?
The right to self-defense actually in the United Nations, in their state today, Article 51 is very well established that if you have the attack or whatever, you have the right to defend yourself, maybe with proportionate force or within reasonable time, but you have that right. We have the right, we are being attacked. We have to buy guns and defend ourselves. What else do you want me to explain? At all the level we are, we cannot be in the middle of the war 4 years after. We want me to explain the right to self-defense to our people who have been defending themselves for 4 years. I think everybody knows that. No need wasting our effort.
You mentioned something about proportionate defense. Does proportionate defense mean Ambazonians can and have the possibility or the right to up the military artillery they are using now?
Of course. Now, when I say proportionate defense, for example, if a republic comes and kills 1 or 2 people, Ambazonians, and you go and slaughter all francophones and claim it's self-defense, nobody will buy that. You are acting disproportionately, even in the process of defending yourself or whatever. It has to be also within proportion. You don't act out of proportion and push things to a level which is not supposed to be. But you have the right to defend yourself. The weapons we are getting is not because we don't have the right to better weapons, because we couldn't afford it. We need time to be buying one after the other until we get the right quantity and the right caliber of weapons. So our right to self-determination has never even been in question. La Republic, I don't think I've ever questioned it. They are just telling us to drop the weapons. Maybe they have a bilingualism committee now who can translate things to us in English or other similar rubbish.
All right. Let me pick up with brother Valentine, who is so interested in this war ending and kids going back to school. Brother, we are talking about a situation where people have to defend themselves. When you talk to your mates around here or around the United States about the right to self-defense, do you have a feeling that the people of the United States are considering that Ambazonians should equally defend themselves as much as citizens of the United States did during the War of Independence? Brother Valentine.
Now, I hope you can hear me. Now, I hope you can. And if you can, then let me just touch 2 things very fast before I proceed. I heard Barrister Thomason talk about the Iraq and the Kuwaiti crisis back in the day. It's still apples and oranges to our situation. We are still making the case to the world that we are an independent country. We are still making that case. Kuwait is and was an independent country at the time they were attacked by Iraq. So it was an invasion that affected American self-interest, and America had to defend its interests. Number 2, if we talk tough on social media, it doesn't translate to military victories, because you can't show me how many are not the same thing. I want to correct that. We can talk tough. I mean, I'd like to talk tough, but I have to back it up with something. And that's where we as Southern Cameroonians, we are struggling. Number 3, we do have a right to self-defense. It's an inalienable right for any people that are under the kind of situation we are now finding ourselves to defend our rights. Now, when some of us talk about negotiation, we are not naive to what the Republic expects of that negotiation. I didn't ask for a negotiation for a federal republic. I never said that. I didn't ask for one for a special status. I never said that. And if the world community made Iraq leave Kuwait in no time, the world community can still make the Republic sit on a table. We will negotiate pensions. We will negotiate contracts. Now, who has the contract for Sonoral? Somebody has it. We have to negotiate it. Who has the contract on Duty? Somebody has it. For WADA. Those institutions that have been contracted, as well as even road construction projects going on right now, we have to negotiate them. There are Southern Cameroonian students that are now living in French Cameroon that have investments and interests out there. These are things that will be negotiated. Now, there's a lot to negotiate. You don't just separate. Even spouses that are divorcing with antagonism still sit and mediate on what you take and what I take, because they are two independent people. So it too for us. Now, I'm not naive to the Republic because it has no interest in it, they will not win anything. They'll be losing. They'll be losing a little gift from the Queen of England, as the French referred to it at one point. But one thing we know for fact, and this is the truth.
Yeah, carry on. Let me not.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, I think the concept of saying we can sit down and talk, no, it's not me being delusional. It's me being very practical and saying, you know what? All this war will get back to a negotiating table. And where we are right now, there is one person with a superior force, and there's one person with a big heart. The one with a big heart and determination without a superior power is still being crushed by the guy with a big gun and superior power. That's just the fact. But it doesn't cancel the legitimacy of our struggle. We are for the labor right of Southern Cameroonians to be independent. That's what we want. We want a restoration. We want to go back to what it should have been, and not what the world community played us into taking under a false choice. We want to go back to the right choice. And that right choice is our right, and we have to do it. But my God, we also have to be practical. That at some point we'll negotiate with the Republic. That's just the truth. We're not just going to separate and move on. No. There are things that must be negotiated upon, because that's how it's been. We've been in a union with them for a while. Even if it is an illegitimate union, there were properties that were being shared commonly. They have to be discussed, and we negotiate how I will go my way, you go your way. So on those basis, it is my hope that that can happen soon, so that yes, we go back to the life we have. Brother, listen, I don't even have a village to go to today. Under the present dispensation, under what happens right now, a lot of us, including you, including the barrister, cannot go home. We are all stuck in another man's country right now.
Yes, brother, you've made that point clear. Let's look at the right to self-defense as it pertains. Do you think that Americans you talk to agree that Ambazonians have that right to self-defense?
Oh,
Do
yes,
they regret that Ambazonians took up arms?
Oh, no. Our taking up arms was in response to a force that was ruthless, that came, touched our villages.
That is Ambazonian point of view. The people you talk to, the Americans you talk to, what do they think about?
No, they respect our right, because guess what? It is even within the understanding of this country, is well established within their norms too, that they are all created by God with certain inalienable rights, among which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if somebody stands on any of them, America is one of the countries where the right to bear arms is something that is protected forcefully. There is an organization as well as a half of the Congress that will do anything to protect the rights to bear arms. We too have that right, especially as a people that have been held in bondage and assimilated by French Cameroon and held in this captivity. Yes, we have that right too, just like they do. And I think the people I've talked to, they respect that right in us too. It's our right, and we have to use it. Oh, yes.
But we have seen cases in American courts about Ambazonians, terrorism cases about Ambazonians, international terrorism. Do you have any idea how the Americans have dealt with these cases?
I think for two things. Number one, a lot of those cases have really not gained traction anywhere in this country. They are mostly common within the Southern Cameroon's social sphere. So a lot of people within our social medium, they understand that this is what is going on. And we also understand that the government has been using some, sadly enough, one of us, like the law in California, would it sue a fellow Southern Cameroonian under the ruse of terrorism? We know that it's being done. And the sad part is this. This is where the French Cameroon has been effective at creating enemies within our community. And these are some of the people that, like you talked about early on, that got Barrister really riled up. Because there are people that have operated to the benefit of the status quo. And people like this will always be in any struggle. Oh yes, there will always be people like that. But it doesn't hamper the truth and the sincerity as well as the credibility of our cause. It doesn't hamper that. Our cause is a good cause.
All right, thank you for that question. Let me take up with Barrister. Barrister, we have determined already that Ambazonians are so much determined and ready to fight and defend themselves. Do you think that the narrative that international terrorism that Cameroon exported to the United States can gain traction and kind of demoralize Ambazonians if the American population could buy into that?
If anybody buys into the fact that you are a terrorist, it has some negative impact on you. But whether the person will buy or not, we've been fighting Have you seen any country come and say we should not fight, we should not defend ourselves? Their inaction or their silence doesn't tell you that they know we have a right to self-determination, that we have the right to determine ourselves, to defend ourselves. The facts are clear. You always have some soldier of fortune who takes money from beer and goes and sues in America. He sees beer and his advisors that I can silence everybody by going to court in America and get injunctions against them and blah, blah, blah. There always be soldiers of fortune. I heard Ellie Smith saying that given the right opportunity, he can convince all fighters to drop their guns and all commanders. He too, some people will believe they will carry a fortune and give him. He will play around. Maybe he gets number 1 or 2 people. At the end, he fails. So everybody is coming with their own narrative. There's a pot of money there. You get your sanction. You claim you can deliver ABC. Some people claim they could deliver injunctions in the courts in America. They might be succeeding. They might be failing. Another person is claiming that I can get all the commanders to drop their weapons given the chance. So he too will get his fortune. So it's the same story about bound to be there.
So basically, you're saying that the terrorism narrative cannot hold water because the American judicial system.
The terrorism narrative, it was the whole would have held. You've gone for 4 years. They've not tapped you a terrorist. They'll come and tap you a terrorist on the feet here. Our position, our status, who we are and what we are doing is already established. Unless you really do something extreme, they will not even touch the whole of Amazonia fight terrorists. They'll attack you and maybe your small group. So the world we establish who we are already. We can dent our image here and there, but for them to tag all of us now terrorists, I think we are past that stage. At the beginning, maybe they could have done that, but what we are looking for and our rights for it now are well established.
Thank you, Barrister. Before brother comes back, I wanted to ask him a question. Let me come back to you. So, in other words, you said it's possible that even if they are going to attack someone, a terrorist, it could be that individual or the individual's group. Are you, in other words, saying that the existence of a multiplicity of groups is an advantage to Amazonia?
The existence of multiplicity of groups has its own advantages, has its own disadvantages. It comes with some infighting here and there, but it makes it very difficult for La Republique to conquer the people. Because you can go after this group, leak their secrets, you don't know the other group, they continue fighting. You can compromise Sako today, like Ayabacho will continue this war. If you compromise Ayabacho, the next person will continue the war. What Fimacha is doing in Libya is different from what Arke is doing there in Bafut Forest and the rest. So this division has its own weaknesses, has its own strengths. So anybody who is fighting for unity at this point is a waste of time. We fight for collaboration. We will never unite. If you know the fighting that was between Republic of Amazonia and SCNC and ever 20-something years ago, it has always been there. So it's nothing new. It has been nothing new. When we had Republic of Amazonia, when Gorkitika declared himself president, the SCNC of Fongalanfo and the rest never accepted. So there was infighting from all along. So when people come today and talk of infighting, I'm laughing because it's been with us all along. We've made progress so far with the division, with the infighting, with the groups, and we will do like that, remain like that till we reach Boya. We would cooperate, but we will never unite. Anybody spending energy on unity is another cowboy who is just new in the struggle. For 30 years, they've never been unity. Just add late for a young bam, they will tell you.
All right. So, Brother Valentine, now the question I put to Brother, I was going to put it to you, but the equation of collaboration and unity in a revolutionary movement, does it come at a point where Amazonians should identify themselves as having the same objective but different methods and can collaborate at certain points in the revolution? Is that something Amazonians should inculcate and accept in the course of this movement?
Well, my brother, on this one, I think me and the barrister might differ a little bit. We are all going to Boya. When we all get up in the morning to go to the same destination and we start fighting, then I'm wondering, what is our priority? Is it the means by which we get there, or the fact that we realize
I think the barrister said that these things are bound to happen because it's a situation we cannot control. Therefore, he's proposing collaboration on particular elements of the movement. I think that's what the barrister said.
Oh, because I heard the last barrister say, for 30 years, there has hardly been unity in it. And then for 30 years, I thought, wait, but no, actually there has been, because I do remember that there was unity in AAC 1 and AAC 2. I know that there was unity when we went to Mesquite, Texas in 2007, and there were various groups of them, were very SCNC, and we were there with Ambazonia Movement, Alip, and all of them, and we were able to set up the Way Forward Network. There was unity when we did Skakuf in Nigeria.
I don't know what unity. If I ask you, do you know how many factions of SCNC existed at a point in time? Do you know that Fongalafo has been leader? You get Ayamba, you get even Paul Aya, so many things. There's been factions in SCNC, there's been factions in the struggle. SCNC could not speak with the Republic.
All right, Barrister,
Barrister, listen.
Barrister, let's listen to brother.
Barrister, one thing I tried not to do was I didn't interject when you were saying. I just simply waited when you were done. I gave the point. This is what is for sure.
I thought you had finished talking.
No, factions will always be. Even the Gospels of Jesus Christ, there are 4 different Gospels, so it wasn't just one. So let's not use the factions as a reason for us to say the things are that way. There are factions in the various movements, but we have to collaborate in spite of the fact that a lot of our people, because we know everybody is a sense-pass king in their own right. There are people that believe in their leadership. Even the IG that we thought was the way forward, the IG now also has factions. The AGOVC also in itself is not a cohesive structure. There are various factions in the structure. We know that. I've seen friendship that have scattered in the name of this struggle, and there are people that have gone their separate. I get all of that. But what is important is that if we do not start advocating for some sort of collaboration and a joint mechanism through which they can all function, then I'm asking myself, why are we going to Buea? Because it looks like we're already preparing for South Sudan scenario even before we get there. Because sometimes I listen to the statements made by spokespersons of different groups telling other Amber boys, we will come and wipe out people. Statements like that don't help. Statements like that are dangerous. But this is what has become the reality of the struggle, which is truly unfortunate. And we really do need that these fellows should all work cohesively.
Sorry, I must interject. You will talk a long time, and at the end, I will forget what I said. I said we need collaboration, not unity. You are supporting collaboration, so you are supporting me. Don't talk for long. At the end, it's as if you are answering me when you are saying the same thing I'm saying. I said we need collaboration, not unity. Unity is so difficult to obtain. There's always been division, but let's collaborate and move ahead. You are repeating that we need collaboration. That's the same thing I'm saying.
Barrister Tumasan, it is not how excited we get in presenting a point that makes it right.
I'm a brother Valentine. Brother Valentine. Yeah. Let me put this question to you. What is the difference you would make between unity and collaboration? What is the difference?
The whole concept of collaboration is finding something for which we can unite around. It is still unity, but being practiced by people with different positions. That's just what it means. So let's not make collaboration look as if we collaborate, it means we agree on something to collaborate on. If you and I don't agree, we can't collaborate. Therefore, collaboration means we have arrived at some unity at something. That is what that would simply mean at that point. But if we don't arrive,
Brother Valentine, so you are agreeing with the barrister that there is no way we can have a general unity where everybody is going to agree on everything as much as from the beginning to the end. Is that
if unity means to form one structure, it will not work. If unity means to come under one structure, that is just one structure, it cannot happen. Collaboration is working in a united front to produce the same impact by people with different views, different approach, and different strategies. So to say collaborate is still unity by sense of we agree on what we want to collaborate on. But if unity is to dissolve all the structures we now have and have one, it will not work. That unity cannot be. Yes.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. So if I understand you well, it is groups can agree on go to Switzerland. Groups can agree on together we are going to go to the American Department of State, but those groups will not necessarily agree on how self-defense should operate. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So where there are areas of collaboration, it would be my solemn hope that they will be able and willing to do so. I like the fact that some groups went to Switzerland. I like that. I like the fact that some groups are cooperating on humanitarian efforts. I like that. My hope is that those areas of collaboration should be more and more, and they should project those areas of collaboration instead more than trying to highlight a lot of their areas of differences and infighting and diversions. That's what I think is hurting our struggle. If they push more where they agree, it is an awesome thing.
I think the barrister agrees with you on this.
No, I agree with him.
I think that's what you
said.
say.
The same thing I was saying.
Okay, good. We are
Collaboration,
rounding about the program.
yes, but if we spend our energy, it will never happen.
Okay, good. So the brother Valentine said that we should try as much as possible to project points of unity rather than points of division, because my observation is that Amazonians celebrate or propagate their differences instead of celebrating their points of collaboration and unity. So we are rounding up now, and I would like to have one last word on this program from each of you. Let's start with Barrister Martin. I am not saying that you are going to die. I'm saying that how do you close the program today?
So sorry, are you addressing me?
Yes, your last word for this program today.
The program has touched on many topics. I don't even know which one I should put the last word. The last word is that people should not be disappointed. People should not think we are not progressing. I think this war, from the beginning, when it was the war was waged on us, we knew it was not a short-term thing. We know this thing can take 10 years, it can take 15, 20. But even if it takes 100 years, we are in it now and we'll fight till the end. Whether we don't go to school for 100 years, as we are in this thing, we must come out an independent people. Eritrea fought for 20 years. East Timor fought for 20 years. South Sudan fought for 20 years. If our own is even going faster, we should be thanking God and giving thanks and praise to God. It's very few revolutions where within 4 years, they are fighting. You can go to Boya by 17, by 16 Munya, and people are fighting. You have camps around there. You go to Bafut, Allah Bukam, you go to Bafut, you go everywhere. The camps are in the provincial capitals already. So it's unprecedented. The fact that they could have moved this revolution from the border to the center of our own territory within a period of 3 years. It's unprecedented, our speed. Let people not keep concentrating on the fact that our people are dying. Yeah, people are dying. But even comparing the dying, go and look at all these other struggles. They died 20,000, 100, South to, they're talking of 100,000 in some of the wars. We are talking maybe 5,000, 6,000 to 10,000. Yes, within a period of 4 years. It's very bad, but it is still within the range where we fight. We have made a point that even if we are 8 million, even if we die 4 million, we will get this independence for our children. The rest of the 4 million will deliver new children. So this war, whether dying or not dying, we are in the middle of the water. We can never give up. Anybody who is stressing, dying, we are not out to end the war. That is, if the war ends, it's a byproduct of our mission. Our mission is independence. If the war ends fair and good, but we are not going out to end this war. I can end it in a day. Just drop your weapons. The war is ended. So
thank you very much.
Independence, please.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Brother Valentine, can you give us one last word for the program today?
Thank you, my dear brother. I just want to thank the Lord God Almighty for this day. I want to thank God for Southern Cameroonians. I want to thank God for the lives of every African child. I want to thank the Lord God Almighty who has made it possible for us to sit this day on this special Sunday and to share the word of our God and to share this word of encouragement and to let the world community know that there is a people suffering, there is a people destituted, there is a people undergoing a silent genocide, and that the world community should be awakened and alert. And I just want to ask that the Lord God Almighty, who from time immemorial has given his children victories time and time again, that have trusted in him, that have believed in him, that have surrendered to him. There is one power that will never fail, and that power remains the word of God. Odeshi might not take us anywhere, but the word of God will take us to victory. It is the word of victory. It is the word of power. And that word is the word that I will pray over the lives of every Southern Cameroonian today, and asking that the Lord God Almighty, may he see through these people of the Southern Cameroon that are believing him for freedom. Our Father, you gave us freedom as an inalienable right. Our prayer this day, King of Glory, is that the blood your Son shed on Calvary, that blood this day, my Lord and my God, will fortify, strengthen our faith and our resolve, so that whatever we do to the glory of God, and let it be the will of God, we will be successful in Jesus' name. Amen. I yield to you, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Brother Valentine. Thank you very much, Barrister Tumasang Madden. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. At the host, I have been Bernard Galim, and at the techniques, we have Pen manipulating the machines for us. Thank you for watching the program. Stay tuned next week, same time, same program, same intensity, and same educational value. Thank you so much for watching with us today. Pen, over to you.
Bye-bye.
Pen.
Are we still live?
Yes, we are still live.
Oh, I was moving my jacket.
So while we are waiting to get off screen, hello, we are done.
Yes, come on.
Yeah, we are done.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes these technical things do happen, and we know Pen is trying to get us off screen. So let's hope it does that within the